Hey, all. I hope you've been able to enjoy your summer so far. I haven't made a video in quite a while. I've been working hard on editing Primeval Fantasy so that it may actually come to light someday. And I got hit with the idea to make a new video after quite a long hiatus. So here we go. An ocean of ink has been spilled on the topic of free will for a couple of thousand years, from antiquity and up until the present day. Some thinkers and theologians have asserted that free will is largely or completely an illusion, that we're just helplessly and hopelessly shaped and pushed by irresistible forces, so that at best we might experience the illusion of choosing one thing versus the other. But in actuality, the choosing was done for us. Suffice to say, it's a far more nuanced and sticky issue than at first blush, and it impacts us all the way down, even to the level of our role playing games. Keep in mind that we have a large spectrum of gamers within wildly varying styles. Some, and arguably most gamers, simply inherited a style of play, copied it, and perpetuated it without much in the way of critique. This is just a brute fact concerning most role players of all styles, which should ring a small alarm bell about the very topic of free will. Furthermore, many gamers are never willing, and there it is again, to challenge themselves, to really ask, why do I play the way that I do? Or would I find greater joy if I radically changed how I play? But let's delve into what might sound like a simple assertion. Players should have legitimate free will in role playing games. I think we'd be hard pressed to find people who would explicitly disagree with that statement. But how is player free will expressed in your sessions? With many groups, the free will of the PCs, as with the theologian John Calvin's conclusion, illusory. The PCs are often floating downstream on the narrative spewing from the GM. The PC's personalities and backstories may have been integrated into that story, but the stream is there for the players to swim in. And that stream is only going in one specific direction. Most people refer to this as railroading. Think of those old carnival fun rides. You got into those old cheap cars, the restraining bar came down, and you were clunkily pushed along past the faded witch mannequins and the paper mache monsters while listening to some hissing recording made while your grandparents were young of screaming and shouting. When games are run in this fashion, you have to run through every landmark, A to B to C to D, all the way down to Z. Many games aren't that strictly regimented, but the GM is still pulling everyone down this one stream with this one unavoidable ending. It might be of some value to ask how this style of GMs leading the players down his narrative stream came to be as common as it is. One factor jumps out as having a powerful effect because of how early it appeared in the publication of early TSR modules. Mostly these came from the late 70s and early 80s, and these are the oldest of factors contributing to what many people call story gamers or story role-playing sessions, whereby the GM has a specific plot along with specific plot points, and the players are caught in that stream. This had such an effect because these were popularized in the first 10 years in the advent of role-playing games, and they either steered or downright indoctrinated new gamers into this model of playing. And those early gamers then taught younger newcomers, passing along what they were taught, and so on. But to be fair, we would need an exhaustive survey of those modules to see just how much of a stream or railroading paradigm they presented. Perhaps someone else is interested in that It really doesn't matter to me personally. What does matter is that if your group plays under a paradigm that says the GM's campaign is some kind of a stream and the players are swimming or floating on the logs, take the analogy as far as you want to, then how robust is the player's free will? My guess is that most such groups do not believe that there's any problem going on here, and that the players do have free will, and that, again, this is simply how the game is played. They could answer us by saying, well, the players exercise their free will by agreeing to play in this campaign or this module. Or you could say, well, they could stop at any time. No one is forcing them to play. Of course, they have free will. Further, some GMs within this paradigm may feel justified by making the players feel like they're exercising choice when they're actually not. That is, the GM intends for the players to encounter a succubus in the dungeon. The players have multiple choice in the directions they can go in the dungeon, but the GM makes sure that whichever way they go, the succubus will be in the room where they enter. We see some popular GMs online actually advocating this practice, not just for a single monster encounter, but for each of the plot points in the campaigns. Well, what can I say about such a gaming paradigm other than I would find it a patronizing waste of my time? Free will is inexorably bound up with the issue of sentience, our actual existence. Under John Calvin's theology, humans have no free will. Some are predestined to be saved by God, and others remain damned, and we can do nothing whatsoever about our lot. Our wills are not our own. We're not people, we're puppets. This means that there's actually no us at all. We're just objects, lifeless, non-sentient extensions of another's will. Likewise, when we examine the effects of removing free will in role-playing games, we can see the logical result: pointlessness. There's no point in me as a player choosing anything whatsoever, because the GM is going to keep the stream flowing towards the predestined sea. Further, this really increases the chances that the GM will not allow any of the players to die in battles, for it may well not be part of the GM's preordained plot. So just tell us that we want to fight, skip it, and move on. Now, people might actually enjoy listening to a GM's story. Perhaps it's interesting to listen to an unfolding tale. Maybe he found ways of integrating tidbits of the player's contributions into his narrative. But this is what reading well-written novels is actually for. Well-done novels accomplish this far better than any GM preordained narration activity ever could. We must return to what the eudaimonia, the zenith of this unique activity, role-playing, really is. For the players to exercise free will and imagination into a legitimate cause and effect world, which therefore generates logical results, which we recount as stories. Novels cannot do this. Video games cannot do this. Miniature wargaming cannot do this. Only this style of role-playing games have the potential to allow the players to exercise their actual volition, which then creates the story. The innumerable choices of the players mingle with the elements in the world, generating results, which then serve as launching points for new choices, new domino cause and effect chains, and so on. There's much more to address within this topic, but I'll save that for a future episode. Thanks for listening, and I look forward to reading your hate mail.